John Cena has tapped out.
His final WWE match ended. The arena didn't erupt with celebration. It froze in confusion. The noise was loud, but it carried discomfort rather than joy, doubt, not in controversy, not through interference, but cleanly. That single moment created an emotional shockwave across the wrestling world. Conversations ignited instantly. Not because many, it felt like watching a chapter of their own lives close in an unfamiliar way. The reaction wasn't anger alone, it was disbelief, grief, and the struggle to accept change. The finish that redefined expectations. John Cena tapping out in his final match instantly became one of the most discussed moments in modern WWE history. The reaction inside the arena reflected shock rather than closure. Fans expected resistance, endurance, or even collapse, but not surrender. The result forced audiences to confront a version of Cena they were never emotionally prepared for. Wrestling fans often accept losses, but endings carry symbolic weight. This finish didn't align with how Cena's career had trained audiences to feel. The discomfort came from contrast, a hero known for perseverance exiting through submission. That visual lingered far longer than the bell itself. It wasn't a failure of performance, but a challenge to memory. For many fans, this moment felt like history being rewritten in real time, and that emotional friction set the tone for everything that followed. A farewell. Framed by legacy, WWE spent months building John Cena's farewell as a celebration of endurance and influence. Promos revisited his journey. Appearances leaned into nostalgia, and every step reinforced his importance to the company's identity. Cena wasn't just another superstar retiring, he was a pillar across generations. The farewell was framed as gratitude, not final judgment. Fans entered the final match expecting symbolism over shock. Even a loss felt acceptable as long as it reflected dignity and respect. That expectation wasn't created accidentally, it was cultivated. When the ending diverged sharply from that emotional framing, the disconnect was immediate. Fans weren't rejecting realism. They were reacting to the collapse of an ending they had emotionally prepared for. The farewell promised reflection but delivered confrontation, and that contrast fueled the intensity of the response. Gunther and the reality he represents. Gunther approached the match without sentiment, embodying realism and dominance from the opening bell. His style was calculated, physical, and unapologetically grounded. Each strike reinforced that this was not a nostalgia showcase. Cena fought back with familiar bursts of energy, reminding fans why they believed in him for so long. The match created hope, then slowly stripped it away. Gunther didn't overpower Cena suddenly. He wore him down patiently. That pacing mattered. By the time the submission was applied, the story was clear. This wasn't about disrespect, but transition. However, realism can be emotionally harsh. Gunther represented the present, while Cena embodied the past. Their collision wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. The finish forced fans to confront the inevitability of change, and that truth is often harder to accept than defeat. Why the submission hurt so deeply? The controversy wasn't rooted in loss, it was rooted in method. A submission finish carries psychological weight. Passing out suggests defiance. Tapping signals acceptance. For decades, John Cena's identity was built on refusal to quit. That image became a promise fans believed in. When that promise was broken, even logically, it created emotional conflict. Wrestling thrives on symbolism, and this symbol cut sharply. Fans didn't feel betrayed by the booking. They felt disconnected from the character they had followed for years. The submission wasn't weak, it was honest. But honesty can hurt when it challenges belief. That's why reactions were intense. It wasn't about protecting Cena's record, it was about protecting what he represented emotionally. The moment forced fans to reconcile memory with reality, and not everyone was ready to do that. The immediate emotional fallout inside the arena. Reactions reflected confusion and frustration rather than unified disappointment. Online conversations expanded rapidly. Fans shared personal stories, childhood memories, and emotional responses tied to Cena's career. The discussion wasn't fueled by outrage alone, it was fueled by attachment. Many expressed the feeling of losing a constant presence in their lives. Wrestling invites emotional investment, and Cena was one of its strongest anchors. When that anchor was removed abruptly, fans searched for meaning. The intensity of response showed how deeply Cena's journey mattered. Even criticism came from care, not indifference. That emotional fallout wasn't manufactured, it was organic. It proved that Cena's influence extended beyond storylines into personal identity for many fans, which is why this ending resonated so strongly. Logic versus emotional satisfaction. From a narrative standpoint, the ending followed clear logic. A dominant champion defeating a retiring legend cleanly establishes credibility and progression. Wrestling, however, exists at the intersection of logic and emotion. When those two elements fall out of balance, controversy follows. Fans understood the reasoning but struggled with the feeling. Farewell matches occupy a unique space. They are less about realism and more about reflection. This ending leaned heavily into realism, challenging the traditional comfort associated with retirements. That doesn't make it wrong, but it does make it divisive. The debate persists because both perspectives are valid. Some admire the boldness, others mourn the absence of emotional release. This tension is what keeps the conversation alive, proving how powerful the moment truly was. Leadership under the spotlight. When moments hurt emotionally, audiences often look beyond performers to decision makers. Creative leadership became part of the discussion because endings shape legacy. Fans questioned philosophy, not intent. They wondered whether realism was prioritized over emotional closure. This scrutiny reflects passion, not rejection. Wrestling fans engage deeply with storytelling, and when trust feels shaken, they respond loudly. Leadership visibility amplifies that response. This moment became a case study in how powerful endings can overshadow even the strongest creative track records. Whether praised or criticized, the decision sparked reflection across the industry. That alone signals its importance. Wrestling history often remembers controversial endings more vividly than perfect ones, and leadership inevitably becomes part of that memory. The weight carried by Gunther now holds a unique place in WWE history, not as a villain, but as the man who closed an era. That role brings immense narrative power, but also emotional weight. Audience reactions must remain story-driven rather than personal, and WWE understands that balance. Adjustments in presentation are often strategic, allowing emotions to settle naturally. Gunther's credibility remains intact, but his role in this ending ensures he will always be linked to it. That connection can elevate a career when handled carefully. History shows that those who end legends often define eras themselves. The challenge lies in guiding that reaction toward respect rather than resistance, ensuring the moment strengthens rather than fractures long-term storytelling. Cena's legacy beyond one match. No ending can erase 2 decades of impact. John Cena's legacy lives in consistency, presence, and connection. He carried the company through transitions, embraced criticism, and remained visible when others faded. That endurance defines greatness more than any finish. The reaction to his final match proves how deeply he mattered. Fans didn't disengage, they felt deeply. That emotional response is a legacy in itself. Championships, records, and moments fade, but influence remains. Cena's career will be debated, celebrated, and revisited for generations. One ending, no matter how controversial, cannot outweigh a lifetime of contribution. If anything, this reaction reinforces his importance rather than diminishes it. A moment that redefined wrestling conversation. This ending didn't close discussion, it opened it. It forced fans, creators, and performers to reflect on how wrestling balances emotion with evolution. Future retirements will be shaped by this moment, learning from its impact. Whether loved or questioned, the ending succeeded in one undeniable way. It mattered. Wrestling thrives on moments that demand conversation, and this was one of them. John Cena didn't exit quietly. He exited in a way powerful enough to shake the industry one last time. That influence is rare. This wasn't just the end of a career, it was a defining moment in how wrestling understands legacy, change, and emotional truth.